That was judgmental.
Oh, so this
Thank
is kind of another can of worms. So, do you struggle with understanding trans issues and needs? So I think T on we talked about last week, viewers, that, LGBT, the T is kind of the tail end, fairly newish. I want to say when the 90s is when we started saying LGBT. Late 90s, if I remember correctly, on the internet. So it's fairly new-ish, or it feels new, I want to say. It feels new because trans people have been around forever. But does anyone here kind of struggle with trans issues or understanding at least? No.
I think Alex and I have a pretty good idea of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and also, full disclosure, I'm transgender as well. I'm a proud gay male, trans man. I think the umbrella kind of does encompass most gender variants, is what most of that is called. And so we have kind of a good representation, well, not the best representation, but that there are gender fluidity, and these are new terms, and you guys also kind of had visible reactions to them and whatnot. And I think the younger generation is definitely pushing the boundaries of what that understanding is, both sexuality and gender, and I think they are different and can inform each other. But I guess another aspect of it is, so if you guys do feel comfortable with those kind of things and needs, when was it kind of the first time you actually kind of interacted with or kind of had to deal with those kind of transgender issues, if you will?
I'm a former teacher, and I've taught many children who were transgender. Not many. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, I don't know. But, so I'm comfortable with that term. It's, when you said binary, I mean, those are the terms
They're
that
newer,
are
yeah.
transgender,
Yeah.
easy peasy. But it's the other that they're not part of my daily vocabulary. So of course I don't, Judge Judy doesn't use them. So, so I'm being educated, which I'm willing. I want to be educated. I want to know all those cool terms.
Fancy terms.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with actually understanding what transgender, the dictionary definition means. I feel like a lot of people they think sexual orientation and gender identity are the same thing, and when they're totally different. I feel like more terms as a generation comes on are being discovered. Back then, just being gay was hated against, but now new terms that are being added to LGBT are coming on. We have a whole alphabet. Almost every letter of the alphabet is being used right now by the younger generation.
It is a Campbell's alphabet soup in this community.
And I feel like a lot of people don't understand what trans people go through because they obviously aren't trans, or if they are trans and they don't really understand themselves, and they question I don't know what is happening.
I don't think that's I think gay folks can understand. I think it's the breeders
Allies.
that don't understand. They don't understand gay. How are they going to
Yeah.
understand trans? I mean, give me a break. You know what I mean? So you got to sympathize right here.
I think oh wait, Joe, did you want to say something?
No, I was
Thank
kind of,
you,
but
God.
not,
No.
I was thinking. No, I was just gonna say when you say.
I thought you didn't have anything to say.
You'd be surprised. Anyway, what I found is a lot of older gay people have a hard time with transgender, right? And to a surprising degree. Okay, and I've been where I know some very important transgender people that were, trailblazers, I guess. And some of them are very important, so I had no choice but to learn everything I could because they made me. But I do know some people now that they're my age, and when you bring up transgender, it's I don't want to deal with it. It's like one more thing, and they'll probably be dead before the next letter is added on to the alphabet. Okay, so they just don't want to bother it, and it's kind of disturbing sometimes, the lack of knowledge. because like that, oh, he feels like he wants to be a woman today, right? Or just decided no longer to be a man, so he wants to be a girl, okay? And it's like, no, that's not it, but it's surprising how many, even in the gay community.
And even if it was, like, if we lived in a society where one day, like, oh, could I just be a girl today? Sure. Like, and how much is that going to hurt me on an individual basis that one person changes their mind from one day to the next? And I think in terms of, like, I'm kind of going a little bit back, but some people may not remember ENDA, which is the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. The biggest thing was that transgender people got dropped from that list, because initially when it was put forward in legislation, transgender people were listed on there to be protected federally from discrimination, and many of the gay lobbyists had to kind of sit there and be like, well, straight people don't want to have transgender people on here because they think that's weird, and they're already kind of accepting gay, so we want to push that momentum, and transgender people got dropped from that in the last minute, and then the bill passed. So I think there is a little bit, and I'm definitely understating this, I think resentment in a way sometimes between our own community of like, well, yes, we're not that pretty, and so like it's a lot harder for, like, we're not all going to get married and have a wet picket fence like what the American dream is and whatnot. And I think that, you know, to also talk back even further about our conversation of like, there's no really gay identity here, no gay district. It's because it's kind of like almost like we have to assimilate. Like, we have to kind of be as straight as possible, or we're just like you. And so therefore, you know, we don't have that, like, it's okay to be gay and be a little bit weird, and like, and that's okay. Yeah. And so, yeah. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I think for myself, I think, you know, in the days of, well, in New York, you know, there were a lot of, they weren't transgender in those days. It was whatever they were, transsexual.
Yeah, they
I'm
called
not sure
themselves,
which one it was.
Marcia called herself transvestite. And
Right,
like,
there was transvestite,
yeah.
and then there was transsexual, which
Yeah.
I think was somebody that actually had the surgery.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But now what I find is that transgender is much more individual. It's not, you can't identify them as a group, because each person is very unique in how they feel, in which way they want to go, how they're going to end up. I mean, so that's the difference for me, that you can't just say, like, you know, we could say, well, these are gay men, these are gay women. I just think you're more individual than a category. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, like just because someone identifies as trans doesn't mean they have to go through hormone therapy or get the surgeries.
Right.
They could just say, hey, I'm trans, I identify as male, and that's it. I don't want to go through hormones, I don't want to go through surgeries, and that's just how I feel.
Right, see, so that's what I mean by individual, whereas before, if you were transsexual or transvestite, you were definitely identified as, in that case, mostly men to women. You know, there were some women to men, but not very many
Yeah. They're mostly
in those days.
considered butches back then.
Yeah.
So, just a quick note. Diane Santos had a question. So, trans male means that I transition to male. So if you think of as like, this is English class now. So trans is the prefix, which means I'm trans, and the gender, which is male, is there. So I hate saying born as a woman because, like, again, that's very redundant.
There's also AFAB.
Yes. So I was assigned
Female.
female at birth, which is AFAB for short, because supposedly my body presented as female, so I was assigned female, and then I transitioned to look more male, and also too, Diane, you also brought up a point of surgery. As Alex mentioned, like, one, there's a lot of issues in terms of access to surgeries. There's a lot of
Costs a
issues
lot
in
of
terms
money.
of hormone therapy and whatnot, and also safety. Like Tom, you mentioned, like, just surviving and like being in the closet as a trans person is like, I have to dress up as a girl because, you know, I'm going to get kicked out of my house. I'm going to get beat up. I'm going to get, you know, do this. So there is like this whole like, so if I come to like a meeting here or whatever, and I still kind of look like a girl, and it's very hard to like, no, please call me a boy, and it's because I don't have a lot of that access to just go around, get a whole new wardrobe, get a whole bunch of other new stuff. And so I think taking people at, not at the face value, but what they say is like the most important part of that. And so, Diane, I'm not going to tell you what surgeries that I've had. No offense. I don't know you that way. We're not sleeping with each other either. So, but that's just me. You don't have to have a surgery to be transgender. Back then, I think in the 90s when I was coming out, that's the kind of funny thing. Like, I feel like old for saying, like, in 1994, when I was a kid, it was transsexual, and it was just that. So you weren't even considered trans male or trans female. You were just a transsexual, and you were now a woman, fully. Or again, spooked. But so yeah, that's about that. So that's what from Diane.